Wow.
So Alat was subverted in the power structure in order for the patriarchs to break up the priestesses that were the original priestesses of the Sophie or Sufi, which was the divine feminine priests that ruled Arabia until they was attacked in the Hijra. And you know that the Hijra was part of the women's army because they commissioned the elephants. The elephants was under the jurisdictional command of the queens, the female priestesses. She wouldn't just run elephants in the war without cause. That was a different era. We be looking at stuff with modern eyes, but we don't realize the culture of the era and the times make a difference in what you're seeing and what it meant at the time that it happened. Because remember, they only giving us the cliff notes. They're not giving us the intricate day-to-day detail because nobody can write that much stuff down about one person. And we don't really care about when they went to the bathroom, when they washed their ass. That don't need to be in there. Unless it's part of a significant life cliff note, like they was washing their ass and got struck by lightning. That's something to write about. Right? We don't write about people's meals unless we writing about them in the context of like a Last Supper or a sacrificial barbecue that they call a sacrifice, but it was really just a barbecue, and that's why they always talking about the savory sin of the sacrifice. They didn't just kill the animal; they ate that sucker. That's why Yahweh told them to make sure that they bring back all of the ones with no blemish. That means they don't want no defective food products. Bring us the best you got for my meal. Which means Yahweh had to be walking around like a regular man because he was eating sacrifice or barbecue, as we call it today. The altar was the grill. Why you think Abraham was stoking it with sticks when he was about to sacrifice Ishmael? He's about to barbecue his son and eat with the Luna gods.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what Icky said. He was like, man, that's crazy. Why you got that man down there about to barbecue his son? Man, how do you put that ram on there instead? So he sent his messenger. And they call him an angel. He was just the guy that come to deliver the message. That's what angel mean. The message deliverer. The mailman. Hey man, the old man said, don't put your son up there, don't barbecue your son. They ain't finna let them eat your son. Put that goat over there. See him stuck in the thicket. Oh yeah, good looking. Barbecue goat pretty good too.
The West Indians up here love some goat. Goat milk, goat cheese, oxtail.
Look, anytime I see a Haitian or a Jamaican restaurant, first thing I ask for is some goat. Do y'all got goat?
What's the difference between goat meat and oxtail meat?
Oxtail is from the cow. Goat is from a goat. In the context of the meat, the bovine beef cow is really too high in what they call saturated fat for human consumption. The excess fat builds up in the brain and gets stuck beyond the blood-brain barrier because in order to get it out of there, you need a carrier oil. This is why they ban hemp oil. Hemp oil was a carrier oil. You rub it on your skin and to help you to remove the plaque buildup in the brain. But anyway, so the saturated fat of the bovine beef is why we didn't eat beef. This is why the cow was sacred in India. They would use the product of the cow, the urine, the milk, the dung, the blood, but they didn't eat the meat of the cow because the meat of the cow was unfit for human consumption because it causes that plaque buildup in the brain over time. Whereas goat and lamb, that's what you call a omega-rich unsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat, which is like putting a clear liquid oil through the brain instead of lard. So instead of the plaque, which looks like lard in the brain, the clear liquid can also serve as a carrier to break down the larger oils and help get the plaque from beyond the blood-brain barrier. But that go into the healing of AIDS-related disorders, and that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, but that's the difference in the meat, right? And pork became taboo because the class of people who was tasked with farming the pigs used to smell like they farmed pigs. So we ain't want them around. Remember, bathing was only allowed in the royal class. Regular people had to go bathe in the river if they was going to bathe, and risk crocodiles or hippopotamuses if you were in the Nile. But if you were in the Mississippi, you was missing them big ass alligators. So we didn't bathe as often in those bodies of water. But we did rituals in them, and for some reason during the rituals, we was never accosted by those predator animals. Then after a while, you had what we call Sobek priests. Sobek priests, they could navigate and control alligator attacks. And they used to stick them on the colonizers. They knew them by scent because they didn't smell like we smell. Because they ain't from where we from. So the alligator knew the imposter. They had to train the alligators to eat us, and they called that gator bait. Because the alligator wouldn't eat an indigenous person to this land until they was trained over generations of gator baiting to eat us. Sure. They smell the enemy, and the enemy throw our babies out there because they helpless. And they know the baby don't know he can control the alligator because he wasn't raised as a Sobek priest, so he just going to be food for fodder.
You know, it's funny you said it, Rod. I just put out the gator teeth and stuff. I was going to show him something. Go ahead, G.
The original name was the cerebral spinal fluid of alligators and crocodiles, depending on where you was on the planet. The olive oil is what you call a viable facsimile of the original.
I'm from
under the Sobek priest, the anointing oil was given to the other priests because it meant that your spine gonna be straight, you're gonna be upright. Let that sink in. That's the symbolism of the gator, the straight spine, but you're gonna be upright. This is when you look at Big Mama Tawaret and you see she standing upright with a gator tail. Right?
You saying it, I'm like, oh man, you going in there now. And I got a statue over there with her standing up with the gator tail holding the baby up. You divine with these. This is alligator spine. Or alligator, the not spine, but the shells on his back.
I thought it was a potato chip.
You can divine with them. You divine with those cells.
Well,
Yo, hold it up longer than a half a second, bro. Put it. Hold it there. Hold it there. Yeah, do a slow turn. Wow. Wow, that looked like.
The shell on the alligator. This is one of the shells on the alligator. I got some alligator teeth. This ain't the alligator tooth right now, but I got some alligator teeth. But when you start talking about the Sobek priest, everything he said was absolutely right. We were really, really cool, the alligators and crocodiles back in the day. And honestly, we look at them as our ancestors because they're still part of that dragon clan or dragon class. The alligator is the Volacun, but the serpent is the messenger of Volacun.
Yo, could you show us some alligator teeth?
Yeah, most of them.
Those are the Nagas priests he's talking about, the serpent priests or the serpent kings, right? Remember, if you go through history, there's no great king in our culture that's not also a great priest. Whether you go,
say that again. Say that again.
There's no great king in our cultures, the original cultures, that's not also a great priest. Right? And if he's going to be a great king and a great priest, he also has to be a great general.
Ooh.
So I got it tied in copper, tied in knots in copper, but and then we'll put a stone on the end of it, but usually you got a hole in here. Now this is a crocodile. This is from Africa, and this is a lion. I can't show you the other ones I got, but and then we got skins from albinos.
No, slow down, Orisha. Do the crocodile tooth again.
Yeah,
because that's like a dragon tooth. Hold it slow, brother. Yeah, do a slow turn on it.
Shout out South Africa to the Quake clan.
Look, the Sobek priests used to weave those teeth in their necklaces, and they used to all be tied together with knots.
You can't really do it now because they're trying to take it. Yeah, I don't have no. That's the only kind of teeth I got is crocodile teeth. But yeah, everything because all of it is ritualistic. So yeah, I can't. Some of the stuff we don't really talk about too much.
And do a slow 360 with the lion tooth.
That's not a lion tooth. I was just playing. That's not a lion tooth. It's another crocodile tooth.
hold both of them up real slow so we can get an idea.
I just got reprimanded for that. I'm not. I just realized. But we do have some python skin. Some stuff. Like when it starts getting to exotic different things or whatever, they can get you for that. So my apologies, 1,000 pardons. But yeah, each one of them things is powerful. Like I said, we got a clan. Shout out to the Akoi coin. The Akoi coin. I might be saying it wrong, but they're clans in all around, tribes all around the world is watching us and looking for information and trying to connect with us. And they don't mind giving us that juju. When we talk about, that's what I'm saying. Like you say, when you're putting all your juju in your bag, what's the first thing you do? You put everything in your bag, right? And after you put it in the bag, you seal the deal, right? It's tie the knot. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but you got tobacco.
That's called cinching. That's called cinching the hand. It's a mojo turn.
I shall say.
They call the bag a mojo hand. You ain't ever hear somebody say they got their mojo hand working?
Always.
Oh, you started something now, Chief Rod. Tell us about High John the Conqueror root.
Listen, High John is the Christianized Ogun energy.
Wow.
Low John is the Christianized Legba energy. But those are ancient rights that we had on the land, and we wasn't leaving our culture without taking our protection with us. And some of the church mothers still use High John and Low John to this day. Some of them use to mop their floors, all kind of stuff, but it's all kind of power in that. And it's also, when you start using the ancient cultural practice, you start activating codons that give you more insight into the use and practice that you participating in. In other
Special
words,
acknowledgement to, I want to acknowledge Muddy Waters. who did a song. I'm gonna do a small clip. Muddy Waters. Orisha Stone, you know about Muddy Water?
I grew up in Gulfport. I used to work at the Winter Blues Clubs.
Okay, now. All right. He an old man up in here.
It's a song called Mojo. Got my mojo working.
Who created that one?
Hold on, let me look.
I'm gonna look that one up too.
It's called I Got My Mojo Working. It might be Muddy Waters.
Yeah, they stay to my Hot John and that old blues.
Oh, that's that is Muddy Waters. Oh, okay. Let me try to pull that up. Hold on a second.
Play a little bit of that one.
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
You know, Muddy Waters was the term in reference to the Mississippi River after the wars.
Wow.
It also is a tribal way of saying troubled waters. And then I'm telling you there's trouble on the land.
Ooh.
All them blues singers' names got a message in their name that's tied to our tribal history.
Tying of the knots. I say. Yeah, the knots are intentional, OG. Energy portals.
You know what, family? Imagine tying knots with copper. Copper, yeah. Tying knots with not the solid copper, the one that's real frayed. You know what I mean? It's softer, so it's easy to make a knot. Extension cord, copper. The copper from the extension cord. Imagine making a knot like that, then putting that around a crystal. So all of you who wrap crystals, imagine having knots. I'm just thinking about it.
It's past the energy. The knots of Anansi or the web of Anansi is energy being flowed through it. Copper exactly is there's energy being flowed through it. But it is a special ritual. Like when you're using a certain kind of rope, it is a certain energy that flows through certain kind of cloth too, certain kind of ropes, cloths or fabrics, silk fabrics and everything else. So each one of them it does or invokes his own spirit. When you're talking about the keys of Solomon, he's tying knots to some of his different things. Like I say, some of them are buried, some of them are cast down the river, some of them are buried with certain things. It depends on what kind of juju you're working. So
Keys of Solomon is 72 keys, right?
yes, sir.
It's 72 codons, right? Let that sink in. Each one of the keys of Solomon is accessor to a specific codon on the DNA in order to activate a particular signature energy. The translation of the name of the God that or the angel that restricts the codon is the angle that the light is striking it from in order for it to be under the dominion of that angel or angle of light. It's reading the energy. But that's just metaphysically speaking. We don't really get into too much metaphysics, but metaphysically speaking, the 72 Goetia, which is the 72 spirits, which is also tied to the 72 elders. It's all talking about information in genetics passed off under the pretenses of religion and mysticism. But it's genetics. This is why you see the two serpents coiled around the staff, which is representative of the DNA helix. But remember, the straight path is down the middle. Now we all over there with Israel Regardley in the middle pillar. Right? Because the middle pillar, the light can't go through from root chakra to crown chakra if the pillar ain't straight. Right? Then you got to know the difference in the left-hand path and the right-hand path. Don't take sides. Walk the middle path.
We're going to talk about the left hand.
Okay. Now, we're going in deeper water. Chief Rod, what's up with them sacrifices?
Which
You know,
ones?
why do they gotta sacrifice blood for certain rituals to manifest? To get, like who they feeding?
The sacrifice of the blood originated with people that saw us as food, but it ended up because there's a universal rule: the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. So whenever the blood of the righteous is spilled, the justification is the catalyst of the sacrifice. And that's why they tell you that the blood of the saints will be spilled across the land. The saints are just the ones who have no contracts. They're not bound to anybody. Their blood is free to flow. So you can sacrifice them if you can get them in the right angle. Corrupt their morality to diminish their soul power.
You know what just popped in my head? I don't know where this came from. Suppose they were talking about, instead of literal sacrifices, they were talking about Menses blood, maybe from young, clean sisters.
That's exactly what it. Chief,
That was
Virgin
right.
Menses
So
blood.
if you go to where Credo Mutwa's little village was, where he was staying at, not too far from there, there's this little body of water. And that little body of water is called the Yoni of the Earth. And in that body of water, the old Zulu princesses used to do rituals there. And the one of the rites of the passage for the girl is her first missus. She had to experience them in that body of water. That was what you call an earth rite for the women. It was one of the earth rites. They started slaughtering them on their way to the water hole. Because if they let them get to the water hole, they was experiencing strange phenomenon which caused harm to the soldiers attacking. They couldn't let the girls get to the water hole. So this is why they isolated him off to himself. He was the caretaker. As the high priest of the Zulu nation, he was the caretaker and the watchman at the post to watch over the Yoni of the earth.
This is getting deep because in Chinese, when like I had some Chinese coworkers, and their wives were taught only to give the virgin chickens, cook virgin chickens for their husband, not chickens that have had sex. Chickens that have sex don't have as much healing energy. So they would go into Chinatown and get virgin chickens. So I'm wondering now, do we have it all convoluted? Maybe the blood sacrifice was virgin women's Menses blood would be more powerful, because even Chinese say, how do I get the vital force from a virgin and let the dried raisin get saturated with the virgin's juices, and then they would sell the raisins.
Okay, so that's unpacking a whole nother bag right there. Because
go ahead, Chief. Go ahead.
The chemistry involved in the vaginal fluids differ with age. A mature woman that had multiple sex partners, her vaginal fluid is not going to be the same as a girl that's only had one sex partner. Biochemically, like ratio of chemicals that her body produces, most of it will come out as spermicides and other defensive agents. As she have different partners, she will develop more and more different strains of spermicide. Because it's foreign to her body, she need to fight it off. So her vagina goes into full defense mode the more she's introduced to different sex partners. And
Wow.
it takes years to reverse that. It don't happen in 2 days or 6 months. And this is why most people are addicted to relationships. They can't be by themselves for a year and work on themselves for a year. Right? They break up, they go straight into the next relationship.
Why is that? What they addicted to?
The chemical changes. It's the chemical changes. That when the chemistry alters, it changes the behavior. These women never take the time to heal, so every time they replace the old guy with a new guy, he's worse to them. It's not that he's worse, it's that she didn't heal from the last guy, so every expectation she had for him, she's holding this new guy for with the new set of expectations that she got for him. Psychological overload. Right? This is why they call them sexually transmitted demons. Remember, when you get to the root, the demon is a thought form, an egregore, that's empowered by repetitively empowering it by its usage. Right? The behavior pattern that's described of the egregore manifests itself as a mental disease or defect, and you can read about all of them in the DSM-V.
Well, Chief,
What's the DSM-V?
Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of the Psychiatric Association. They got 1 through, I think, like 7 or 8 now. But they all covered a different time period during the evolution of psychiatry and psychology on what was classified as a mental illness. Like, they took it out that jealousy is a mental illness, right, and a learned behavior.
Sure.
It's because it's an egregore and it's taught. In other words, somebody tagging you saying you hit with the jealousy bug.
Wow.
If you go look up the term dementia praecox was the scientific term for jealousy as a sub part of schizophrenia.
Wow.
Your Chief, he was asking about the blood sacrifices, and people dabbing all sorts of stuff, so everybody ain't on the same page, right? The one under the temple of the feather serpent, he eliminated blood sacrifice. You're supposed to bloodlet yourself. It's not a sacrifice. Sacrifice is giving something of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So everybody chose everybody else to be their sacrifice, and that's basically the problem of Solomon. Solomon, like, we praise Solomon, but Solomon's really an asshole. Think about this, Chief. Solomon had 300 wives and 700 concubines. How many kids does Solomon have? How many kids? Huh?
Hundreds.
What did he do with them?
His kids.
We were just talking about the 72 or those the lesser keys of Solomon. He was feeding to legions of demons and dragons and all these different things. He was using his blood. His children were his blood.
Look at now, pay attention. Remember, a demon is a thought form. In order for him to give one of his sons to a demon, in order for that thought form to manifest, it got to have a description to it. You ever notice that every angel in the angels got a description to their name?
Most of.
Right? It's the same thing with the demons. They all got a description to their name. And then if you pay attention, a lot of demons got L on them and a lot of angels got L on them.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going there, Chief. I was going there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, now, what you're looking at is when they saying he's giving sacrifices, he's training them in different stuff. All of the children can't learn the same thing and be the best they can be if you're a good father. And remember, Solomon was the wisest except for who? At the time he was there, he was the wisest of them all, right?
That's what they say, y'all.
Okay, now, if you're looking at it from the eyes of the wisest of it all, he would have to have enough sense to treat each one of his children individually in their individual capacity according to their nature. He's not going to raise all his children the same. He's going to teach them all different stuff that's going to help them best throughout their life. In other words, he infected them with different thought forms, different demons, different ideas. So you all got the same ideas.
No, I was just going back to the DNA thing when you talk blood sacrifices and DNA and back to the whole DNA connection to the ancestors and everything else. Some of them eat blood, but the sacrifice is supposed to come from yourself. Just like he was saying, the woman's sacrifice comes from her menstrual, but the man's supposed to be blood-led.
Right.
Now, people use other people's blood.
Right. When you use another as a sacrifice, that's called using a proxy. One in the place of one. Now remember, if it's not an emotional attachment, it's not a sacrifice. You don't even have to sacrifice a person. You can fast and sacrifice hunger.
Ooh, or sacrifice. Ooh, that's hot. That's hot, Chief. I like that.
That's what the whole 7 deadly sins, be aware of them is. If you're a drug addict, you can get control of it by periodically fasting from the drug. If you don't want to go through the 12 steps. Right? If you're a jealous-hearted person, what makes you jealous, you got to study that and find out where the disease infects you at. Ooh. In order to break free from it. Right? If you're a glutton, you fast from food. If your emotions is off balance, you fast from food. Why? Controlling your appetite, control all of your base desires. Your base desires is the thing that's hardwired into you as instinctive behavior. It's instinctive to follow the 7 deadly sins.
So, Chief, question. Montauk Chia says one drop of man's sperm is equivalent to 100 drops of blood. So if we're really going to punch the pedal to the metal on sacrifice for the energy, wouldn't it be sexual fluids?
Where do the sperm come from? Well, remember, the production of sperm, they tell us it's in the testes. It's not. It's in the cerebral spinal fluid. If your cerebral spinal fluid that went from clear silver to the gold elixir, then your sperm is desired above all others, because now you're working with enlightenment. Woo! Right? This is the difference between the royal class and the peasant. The peasant never develops himself into the royal class. That's why he can't never be there, because it's about character and quality of person. Nobody's going to take the time to teach the peasant how to behave as the king. So even if his ambitions were so great as to conquer and become the king, 9.9 out of 10, he's going to become a despot, a rogue king, a king that don't trust nobody. He's scared his empire going to turn on him on every day. He going to rule by force and force alone. No compassion. Do as I say and do as I say only. And anything else, go get you bust upside your head. Right? And his reign is going to be short because his tyrannical ways is going to irk the ires of the grown men in the society who say, we ain't putting up with that bullshit. Because the king can tell men that he no longer can have his daughter or his wife because the king want her now. How many grown men gonna put up with that? And you never know the hatred and ire that you have wreaked once you behave in that pattern as a despot. So now when your assassin come, you done did so much dirt, you don't even know where to look to find out who sent them. If you survive it.
I got a question to the sisters, because I heard when you practicing seminal retention, the smell that the brothers actually have the smell of the testosterone or the sperm come through their pores. Could you touch on that, Chief?
We talking about pheromone responses. It's the same with the women. Look, a man might not even be attracted to a chick, but let him get the sense that she ain't had no sex in a while. His whole primal instinct kicks in. It's the same with the woman. If she feel like he's a qualified male based on character and disposition, she don't care if you married. She can tell if your wife been holding out on you. And she's gonna exploit it. Because it's a tactile sense. Let's go. Okay, so you look at it like pheromone comes from the olfactory, is tied to smell, right? Frequency touches aura to aura, is close proximity, right? So now, if the pheromone faculty is activated, and you also feeling the energy. Now remember, women naturally intuitive. Those two things gonna tie her into her what am I intuiting drive, because she's gonna have what you call 3 points of triangulation. Right? The smell, the sensation of the energy, and intuition. 3 points of convergence. And now all she have to do is focus on what it feel like, and then she'll know what it is in short order. And the women are not taught to tune into their frequency like that because it disempowers the lower grade of male. And they want the lower grade of male to pollute the dating pool of the qualified women and make them become disgruntled with their selective options. It's all by design.
This. We went from knots to what do we call this now?
Contracts, knots.
Oh yeah, this would definitely be. Oh, this is actually ultimate sacrifice. What is more of a sacrifice than to allow your energy, your divine energy, to be compressed and cultivated up the spine? That's a sacrifice of your lower self. Damn.
Right. So when you're looking at sacrifice got rules to it. So you got what's called primary sacrifice. That's self-sacrifice. The highest form of sacrifice known to man is self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice don't have to be killing yourself. Self-sacrifice can be you realizing the state and condition of your family and applying yourself to a craft until you develop the mastery skills to change your condition to the level that you can raise all of your condition. That's a sacrifice. If you want to be the greatest at something, Michael Jordan didn't just walk out of a basketball court and be Air Jordan. He had to practice and practice and practice. And when Kobe Bryant wanted to find out what made Mike great, what did he find out? Practice. So he was the first one there and the last one to leave. What do the hustlers say about the block? I'll be the first on the block for the cheese and be the last mother to leave. Sacrifice. Put in the work.
I think you got a song, Chief Rod, because you got some bars tonight, bro.
I was quoting Scarface. Brad George, one of my favorite all-time rappers. Right. But when you understand self-sacrifice, you can only sacrifice yourself to an agenda that you can reach, or it'll be rejected. That means you won't put in the work to achieve it, because your perception has been blinded to the fact that your potential is infinite if you're willing to work for it. But don't nobody want to work for it because we've been conditioned with fast food and microwaves. That everything's supposed to get to the table in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
So now, when it comes to spiritual things, which the spirit don't play the short game, spirits play the long game. This 6,000 year rule of the devil played out over a 6,000 year period. That's forever to one of us. We wasn't here in the beginning, and we hope we could see the end. Right? So the plan was being played out with all of these different actors over 6,000 years with the same rulers at the top. The question is, how did they hold their power? It's continuous evolution.
A minute before we break out of here, y'all got I instead of going on YouTube, I looked up knots. Let me pull this up.
While you're doing that, out of all the other topics, nobody ever asked me about knots before.
Really?
Nobody never asked me about knots before. So much stuff to go into the knots.
It's deep.
Right? Yeah. Like, used to use knots to tie two tribes together in symbolism as in truth.
I see.
This is what the marriage ceremony of tying a knot is about.
How come nobody ever talked about knots? That's like pre-K 101. You got to know about knots. You got to tie your shoes. Imagine if we knew how to do the knots on our shoes to accomplish what we want so we could walk into our destiny.
I see.
So that you got to know that the shoe that you putting on is the shoe that the person who is in the energy that receives what you want, this is the shoe that they would be wearing as they walked into their purpose. Intention matters. Remember, everything is a wave until you give it some attention, then it collapses into the particle.
Woo!
So when you see yourself at your highest, you say, this is something that I would have at this level. Go get it. Go get it, because it's helping you as what they call a spiritual aid, a tool to advance your manifesting potential and collapse it into the reality you experiencing.
I see. She said something about number 9. You know this oil season, right?
Mm-hmm. Ties to the 9 ether.
It's oil season. Just Scorpio season.
Now, wait a minute now. Okay. Now that y'all brought it up, Chief Rod, Orisha Stone, what's the connection with not numbers and Orishas?
This is year 9. This is year of Oya. You can look at Oya's number, look up everything that Oya represents, the interchange, the change, the hurricane, all the stuff that's cleansing the land of this year. Just like Sister Mama said with us last night, when she said this is the year of completion. This is the year of knowing. This is the year of the wood serpent. Everything is connected. All of that is connected. We were just talking about the inner lining of the wisdom, the serpent's wisdom. That's the knot. You know what I'm saying? The DNA is the knot. Everything you said tonight was connected in one shape, word, form. But we most definitely in Oya season or a time of change. We just stepped into Scorpio season. Scorpio season also represents in the indigenous culture represents quick and rapid change.
Yo, what about when sisters wrap that scarf around their head? Do they take the time to put the knot in the right direction?
Damn.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Definitely.
But you know, they normally tie it up intuitively.
I see. Everything's intention.
Like, you might see her one day, she might have her knot right here. She come back next day, not over here. Next day, not in the back.
Well, when they have it on the side, you know they're gonna fire up, man. Because if you remember, what's her name? Yvonne Stickney having that knot on the side of her head. Back up, Jack. Get ready.
This is the gazelle. a gazelle, and like I say, you do rapid things, whatever. But yeah, the energy of 9, the energy of Oya is on us right now. So tap into that Oya energy. You spoke on High John earlier, but yeah, most definitely tap into that 9 energy and understanding what shedding is. Right now, we're shedding skin. We're going. You talking about knots? You got to shed some skin. You know what I'm saying? The divine serpent wisdom.
Yo, taking it back. When the kids got when the sisters have a whole lot of energy, they got 2 knots. You ever check out the ones with the 2 knots on their head? Chief Rod, Arisha Stone family, they're always energized. You notice that? You don't see grandmas with 2 knots. You know, they're called Afro puffs.
Mm-hmm. That's black girl magic.
Big Oya energy.
Yeah. And those are also known as bear ears.
And the more knots they have, the 2 Afro puffs and 1 in the back, they be turbocharged, man.
That's all code tribal language too. The hairstyle. Look, we don't know why we pay so much attention to people's hair, because we leave messages in the hair.
Oh.
You know, when you see somebody with the locks on, that don't tell you the same thing as you see somebody with an afro. But the common denominator is both of those hairstyles tell you, hey, they about self-empowerment.
Yeah.
Right? You never hear anybody say that about weave, even though sisters invented weaves. Weaves. Right? They invented the adorning of the hair. Remember, we used to braid maps into the little girl's hair, so when we fled, we knew where we was going, because we running with the map. Right? We used to also conceal food stuffs in the hair, but we wasn't really concealing the food itself. We was concealing the seeds to grow food wherever we go, to live off the fat of the land. Because if you can preserve the seed, you're not going to braid enough in a girl's hair to feed a family of 4. And that whatever you braid in her hair is probably only going to feed her once. But if you look at it as a seed, you can do so much more with a handful of seeds than you can with a handful of food ready to eat.
I'm sure.
All right, so they knew that when they got to a certain geography, that they would be able to set up camp and grow some food. In the meantime, Papa know how to hunt.
Wow.
Survival in wartime, we came up with all kind of stuff and messages to be relayed through hairstyles that we wore. So even if you go in the military, they address your hairstyle first. If your hair too long, you ain't no soldier in this man's army.
Facts.
Right? In basic training, I don't care how long your hair is and what your spiritual belief is, it's coming off. So they know that it's messages in the hair that they don't want relayed from the battlefield.
Yo, Arisha Stone, tell us what you moving too fast, brother. Put it back.
No,
what you got there, man?
I'm just confirming what he said about the hair. These are Sambo statues, or they might call them Buddha statues, but you know what they wear by the hair. And the hair is energy conductors, like you were just saying. There's energy that goes through the hair, the non-ether, you know what I'm saying? All that's connected. But the hair, it tells, even in the today's, we were slaves, we had to look at the maps on our hair. But what happens when we weren't slaves? We were still using our hair to identify each other, or to harness energy. I look at different religions like Islam and everything else. When I look at Islam and I look at the source, I go to Allah. When you look at Buddhism, I look at Hinduism and all what Hinduism represents, everything else. So, and then why did they try to manipulate us with the Buddhists or the fat jolly guy when that's not what the Buddha really looked like? So that's why I really go to the source of the symbols before Buddha. And symbols, the universal black God.
And
Yes, not
the Buddha with the black stomach is not a Buddha. The one with the look like the bald head black dude they used to have in the houses in the 70s.
yeah.
That's not the Buddha.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I go straight to the symbol.
Listen, there was a Ugandan priest. He wasn't the Buddha, but they used the symbol because the priest carried the legend of that was so similar to the Buddha. So when we get the hold of the teachings, they gave us a Korean whitewashed Buddha as Siddhartha. But the ones of us who remember the real Buddha, we know that he was about the complexion of us. We know this because of his family lineage. The original Dravidians, original people were India. Right. So back then they were the top royal class, but now they're at the bottom, just like us. So now we do the alpha to the omega, where the last becomes first and the first becomes last. Just hope you enjoyed yourself while you was at the top. And hope you did well by the people you was tasked with tending to, because now you about to be tended. Right or wrong, you about to get what you got coming. Good, bad, or indifferent.
You know what? When you look at Transformers, it's coiled. That's not technology.
Everywhere you see a bolt is not technology. Remember, the bolt is just a metal artificial knot. They started incorporating metal into knots as rings and pins.
I want to acknowledge Agnes Free Spirit and her husband Kojo, because last Saturday, Chief Rod, Arisha Stone family, their table, she has a whole lot of eclectic jewelry, but the ones that the people of all backgrounds was attracted to was rings with knots. Almost like a subconscious attraction. So I'm saying with that, imagine if we did not technology in our navel. If you have any navel. What would happen if you put the right coil knot in your navel? How would that affect your vital force? That's how I'm thinking, Chief. I'm just like how to take that and
comparative analysis. The naval is the Navy. The naval is the Navy. And the Navy travel in knots, not miles per hour. We tie back right to what you're saying. Knots in the Navy. Long short.
In the Navy, knots in the naval. You dropping bars tonight, bro. Yeah.
Hey man, I had a blast coming over here talking about knots. I'm like, there's so much go into knots, so a lot of people don't pay it no attention because they're so common. Even our zip ties is predicated upon the understanding of a knot. Because before we had zip ties, we had slip knots.
Ooh.
You know, so the science just evolved in order to simplify complex matters.
Yo, look what they dropped in here. Astronauts. I never thought of that. Wow.
He put it up before I said it. You remember the movie Dark Crystal?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the Big Mama when she returned? She left in the universe somewhere and she returned after all the years. That's pretty much been playing out right now. The Dark Crystal.
Yeah, I didn't see the movie, but I know when it came out, I remember the advertisements for it. You never seen the Dark Crystal?
OG, please watch that movie. come
I
back and
was
break
stuck
it
in the
down.
library, man. I don't have time to watch no damn movies. I was too busy reading books.
I get it.
Woo!
Maybe 3 hours or so. Go on and tell it.
So we getting what's called soft disclosure. Soft disclosure mean an unofficial peek behind the curtain,
Uh-huh.
right? To show us what's transpiring. And so a Q drop came on X to say that the federal government, the corporation, is going to be permanently closed in 48 hours. I don't know if it's an actual 48 hours or if it's a code flip.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they be flipping codes.
Mm-hmm.
We also got some X communications that the election's not going to happen. What that means for the people is that we going back to the law of the land, back to the great law, back to the matriarchy, back to tribal government. We're going back to before 1492 when the settlers invaded us, colonized us, and miseducated us into thinking that we from somewhere other than here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So everything is on schedule. It's going to be a whole lot of upheaval on the heels of this coming this month. What it looked like officially, I can't tell you. But there's some phenomenon taking place with the draining of the swamp and the overthrow of the deep state and the restoration of the rightful heirs to administer the estate of the collective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you the administrator.
Who the administrator? Who you talking about,
You.
son? Big Mama?
You, Big Mama. Look, they
Y'all
can
hear
say
that?
what they want. They can say what they want. They can say we don't know what we talking about. They can call us crazy, but one thing they can't do, they can't stop what's coming.
And
This
what's
is
coming?
an irresistible force in a mass wave of love energy about to get rid of everything that don't belong, that ain't already gotten rid of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is what we looking at now. We looking at the white hats coming out to talk about the military operation that's been going on for the continuity of government process.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of us people think that this is not real. They believe that the stage show in DC with Sleepy Joe and Camel Toe Harris, they think that's the real stuff. They just playing out the roles in order to show people what's going on. The Kamala's supposed to fail miserably. And that's they signal that the whore of Babylon has failed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is what's taking place in real time.
And who's the whore of Babylon?
The role being played by the Kamala Harris contingent of clones and skin masks and cross-dressers.
Okay. Okay.
The whore of Babylon is a cross-dresser masquerading as a woman wearing purple with pearls and gold around her neck. Right? So that's just the cover story to show them that the system is done defrauding the people, stealing everything from us and giving us nothing in return.
Mm-hmm.
As Tupac say, we back for everything they owe. And as I add to that, it just so happened they owe us everything. So we come in and collect.
And when as you talking about us coming to collect, we coming to collect our energies, our people, and their energies can now be rerouted the right way in true time and in true value, as Big Mama's Bank is deemed to do the right thing in banking. The banking part is not about that fiat. It really is the people, is the value. And that we must, this is the ancient system. The ancient system was not predicated upon Federal Reserve system. They usurped the system and took over and flipped the banking piece to give these unlawful contracts to us to sign to enslave us in debt that never existed. It was our energy and our signature of everything which would have given us the freedom to access the accounts. And it ain't talking about Federal Reserve accounts, by the way. Y'all hear me talking to y'all over here on TikTok? And do you hear me talking to y'all on YouTube? You never really heard me really talk about the banking piece because it wasn't time to talk about the banking piece as it relates to true banking with the H at the end of the word bank. Now go do your homework and write that word down, banking, add an H to it. That's be the Ankh. Be Ankh. Okay? Means that the tree of life has to do with all the energies that run through the spinal cord. It has an intrinsic value to it. The energy that we all have, that is calculated by the British thermal unit, as you know, me and Rod, my son, talked about. And and I started being activated to understand, so that at this given time, that the DNA codes within my system has now started interfacing with the true banking system. And that we're coming back, bringing it back online so it can be administered the right way. So that the people can stop being enslaved by this current system that has done anything for us but take and extract and kept us on the public side of the ledger. We needed to be private while in the public. But this system was crammed down our throats. And we had to be made to be indoctrinated in order just to eat, and eat what? Poisonous, off the poisonous fruit tree. The poisonous tree was all this GMO, all this air, all the soil has been tainted, all the stuff that they done to the food, which is the poisonous tree, that has poisoned our ability to think from a higher realm of ourselves, to be taught what is true banking. Is going to take some time for these people to get off this damn system called the Federal Reserve System. And I had some people that asked me some questions today. We had a meeting. Some folks that's getting ready for this banking piece asked me about, well, how do we take out Federal Reserve notes and do we ever? I said, no, you don't never have to do that, because true banking is about knowing how to move the paper. Should I say that like that? Knowing how to move your energy and knowing how to correctly be accountable for those accounts of the energy to be returned back to you in the value that's in the account. That's the simple way that I can put it, and I yield.
So we need to understand the historical application of their banking system and how it was imposed upon our people. So the first thing we're going to do is give a reference book. The reference book is called Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Y'all got that? Go look up the confession. What now?
Of an Economic Hitman.
Of an economic hitman. Okay.
They also, for those who don't like to read, they also made a movie based on the book.
They made a movie based on the book, and what's the movie called?
Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman. That's what
Okay,
happened
now,
to the planet.
So when they came in 1492 with Cristobal Colombo, or Cristobal Colon,
Mm-hmm.
he was a scout for the exiles that was being actively expelled from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
On the land, we call them dirty Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now their job is to pretend to be us while they institute a doctrine of dogma to overtake us by miseducating us.
Mm-hmm.
Which takes us to another reference book, Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson.
Okay.
From miseducation to education by, I think it's Naeem Akbar. Right? So when we know what they did with the banking system,